So we have officially moved back to the UK after nearly 3 years of living in Australia. And we honestly thought things would just feel normal and familiar.
Coming home has been way more of a culture shock than we ever could have expected, especially after living here for 23 years.
Some things surprised us, some things we totally forgot about, and some things slapped us in the face straight away.
So today we're going through 10 of the biggest culture shocks we've experienced coming back to the UK after living in Australia.
And if you're wondering why we're in the car, that is because point number 1 is driving in the UK. So obviously we also drive on the same side of the road as in Australia. However, in Australia, the majority of the cars are automatic. In the UK, most of the cars / the cars in our price range are manual. And that means there is a clutch and a gear stick.
So Josie, would you like to demonstrate how to drive a manual car?
I would love to try and demonstrate well.
Do you still remember?
Vaguely.
Vaguely? Well, let's see. All right. We're in gear.
I'm in first.
Yeah. Clutch is down. Damn, this is fast. What? Slow down. There is something that goes kind of like in addition to the clutch and the gear stick, right?
Yes.
What is that?
That is the windscreen wipers and the indicator. Now, in Australia, the indicator is on the right and the windscreen wipers are on the left. In the UK, depending on the model, but most models are like this, switch around. So we've just spent nearly 3 years. It's ingrained in our brain, you know, that the indicator's on the right, windscreen wipers are on the left. And now, every time that I go to indicate, my windscreen wipers come on. So I don't want to, it's not raining. I don't need my windscreen wipers on. I need to indicate. It's so frustrating. It's such a trivial thing, but it's so annoying.
So point number 2 is another car-related point. Everything in the UK is in miles per hour, and everything in Australia was in kilometers per hour.
So for example, when we saw a 20 sign, no miles per hour, it just says the number's 20. We obviously were still thinking in kilometers per hour, and we thought 20 kilometers per hour, oh my God, that's so slow. It is still quite slow. It's like 32 kilometers an hour. Our dashboard is mainly miles per hour, but it does have a smaller little ring circle around it, which are in kilometers an hour as well, which does help when you're trying to translate on the go.
So we were going to leave this point till later in the video, but actually we're dying for a coffee. So point number 3.
Coffee. So I think this one has been the biggest shock, expected shock, to our beautifully coffee indulged systems, and it is the coffee in the UK in general is really not very good. With the exception of a few good cafes, this one's actually one of them. I feel blessed to have found this one.
What are they called?
Nice Buns Cafe.
Nice Buns Cafe.
In Thames Ditton.
And it's the one we go to most days.
Yep.
Because when you find a good place in England,
stay there.
Don't
try and, you know, be adventurous, because you're going to be disappointed. Because if you find one that's good in one area, you're going to have to travel quite far to find another good one, because they're not condensed. They're not easy to come by.
And I don't know if this is something you've noticed as well, Joss, but in England, there tends to be more chains of coffee places.
Yeah.
Rather than, like in Australia, I felt like there are a lot of independent coffee shops that really took pride in, you know, how they're making the coffee, because they depend on the customers to come
100%.
back. Like, for example, the Nice Buns Cafe in Thames Ditton.
I love that name, by the way.
Yeah, right. But they're independent.
Yeah.
So actually, if you go to the independent places in England, you might actually find yourself surprised by the quality of coffee there.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, as a business, they want their coffee to be the best it can be. But I think the other difference here is the price of the coffee compared to Australia.
It's a massive difference.
How much were these?
Altogether, it was $8.60 for 2.
$8.60. So that's...
They are quite big.
I mean, it's a big coffee.
But in Australia, we would also get coffees that size.
So what's $8.60?
60, 17?
$4.30 each. So that would be maybe $8 to $9
each, yeah.
For a coffee.
That's
each.
a lot.
So you'd be paying we'd go out to a coffee shop and get 2 coffees for $16.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That seems to me a bit like on the expensive side.
Now that we have got our coffee and caffeined ourselves up, we can now focus on the earlier points. And that moves us on to point number 4, which is roads in the UK are tiny. And I'm talking like, this is a small car. And sometimes you have to like breathe in to fit through the gap.
However,
you know?
sometimes buses still get down roads that we question.
Yeah, people in the UK, not everyone, a lot of people in the UK really know the size of their car because they have to. Because you just squeeze through any gap you can.
And bus drivers are just
crazy.
Yeah, good drivers, really, aren't they?
I mean, hats off to British bus drivers, especially in like places like London.
All right, this road is a great example.
This is actually quite civilized in how it's set up. This
so
is quite wide still.
All these cars parked on the road this side. All of these guys have had to go on the pavement, and then you have situations like this where that car at the end, are they coming this way?
No, they've actually thought better of it.
But like, they would have to wait for us to come all the way down the road before they come through.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine buses coming down roads like this?
They do.
They do come down
Not
these
this
roads.
particular one, but they do.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it? I'll tell you one thing the Australians who watch this are going to love, right? You see all these cars parked in all different directions.
Most of them are actually all parked facing that way, but these should be parked facing
the other way. They're all parked facing us,
like,
aren't
look
they?
At these two, back to back.
Yeah. So
forward to forward.
This will look like this will be very weird for all the Australians watching. You've got to understand that in Australia, the vehicles are bigger. They have road trains, and just in general, everything is bigger. So they need bigger roads. Whereas in England, the cars tend to be smaller. You don't need the big 4-wheel drives. You don't have road trains roaming the streets. And yeah, we don't need streets as big as Australia's. So
our next point is the price of fuel. And if you guys have watched our previous videos, you've probably seen this one coming because we've talked about how cheap we think the fuel is in Australia. It's really not here. It's very expensive.
Extremely expensive.
Extremely expensive.
And luckily, we need fuel. So what a perfect time
to show you how
to demonstrate. So the price of fuel in that fuel station was £1.29. So if you convert that to Australian dollars, you're looking at maybe $2.60 per litre. And they're the sort of prices we saw whilst driving the Nullarbor, one of Australia's most remote roads, which is crazy to even think about. Like, that price is in the middle of London.
And that's cheap at the moment. That's a decent price right now.
And that's, considered cheap.
But also, you have to remember that fuel adds up in Australia quite quickly because there's a lot more distance between places. So you're actually burning through fuel quicker. So actually, it probably adds up to be like the same cost overall. But still, it's just cheaper. I think
the thing is, when you go to fill up here, it just feels like more of a hit.
Yeah, you're like, oh, my bank account doesn't like that. For the next 2 points, we are going to need to head to a famous British supermarket. And you may have heard of this one. It is called Tesco.
So here we have Tim Tams for £2.50.
That's actually cheaper than Australia.
Is it really?
Tim Tams were like $6.
That would come to $5.
Yeah.
Really? Are they $6?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Damn.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. But anyway, we've had to retrain our brains when it comes to these prices here, because we still see this as $2.50.
That would be a bargain.
Damn, that's cheap.
But
cheap. Actually, in reality, it's £2.50, which is more like $5.
Okay, point number 7. We are on aisle number 7 for this. I'm in the supermarket right now. I've just shopped on the chocolate aisle. And now I'm in the beers, wines and spirits aisle.
Yep, that's right.
It's all grouped together.
They sell alcohol inside the supermarkets.
Yep. If I'm doing a weekly shop, I can get my alcohol too.
No extra shops.
No,
what do they call them?
Drive-through bottlers.
Yeah.
Although that's kind of more convenient, a drive-through. I don't know if this is more convenient or if a drive-through bottler is more convenient.
And would you look at that? They do the most famous Aussie beer in the world.
That's kind of expensive, no?
That would be what?
For 4 beers?
Kind of like $10.
Maybe it's not expensive. Yeah, maybe that's normal.
But yeah, look, Foster's, good call.
But they don't even stock that in most places in Australia. It's just here. It's just shipped
here,
out.
It is classed as the classic Australian beer that all Australians drink.
I don't think I've ever had a Foster's. And I don't think I ever intend to.
I've had a Foster's.
Is it gross?
It's decent.
Most Aussies would say we export it because it's disgusting.
Yeah, they would say that.
And obviously we know like most of these points are not massive shocks. They're more like little things that we forgot happened.
Yeah.
And we were a bit like, oh yeah, actually we forgot that happened here.
The first time we walked back into a supermarket, we were like,
oh, the alcohol's in here. That's cool.
Yeah, so not shocks, especially these 2 points, more surprises.
Surprises, little surprises.
Right, so we thought we'd continue the video indoors because we no longer need anything in the dreaded cold, wet and windy outside. So point number 8 is doctor's appointments. And you've booked a doctor's appointment, right?
Yep. 3 weeks in advance. And that was due to an actual last minute cancellation.
So the wait was 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And that's considered like
a quick turnaround.
Yeah, a quick turnaround for a doctor's appointment in the UK. As if we compare that to Australia, I mean, you can get one within the day, next day, next 2 days. So I guess it's if you have something wrong, it's a bit of a worry that.
Yeah, especially like people like me, I've got such bad health anxiety.
Yeah.
I always worry about little things, and like being able to get a doctor's appointment the next day was actually really good at putting my mind at rest. For me specifically. Whereas I have to literally worry about it for 3 weeks now, at minimum.
But that's okay, because I mean, there's an obvious difference here.
Yeah.
The UK service, the NHS, is a free service, which is fantastic. Whereas in Australia, you do have to pay for those doctor's appointments. So there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
Having a free service would mean it tends to be less efficient and longer waiting times, but cheaper. Whereas in Australia, I would say the process was more efficient, shorter waiting times. However, that comes at a cost.
Yeah,
so, if you weigh up the pros and cons, they kind of level each other out.
You can get emergency doctor's appointments here if you like are critically, obviously like you've got the hospital, you're emergency, you just go to A&E. But like if it's like a GP appointment, but like more on the emergency side, I think within a week you can they have slots.
Even quicker, honestly.
Sometimes quicker. I think sometimes can be like a week still.
So don't worry, if you do need something urgently, you can still go. But I mean, just for the regular checkup, you do have to wait that sort of time. And moving on to point number 9, this one is a bit more positive. I mean, they've all been, lighthearted, all of these points.
However, they've all just been like differences that we've had to get used to again.
Exactly. However, this one is a bit different because point number 9 is our appreciation for the UK has grown significantly since being back. So I think before leaving, we got very used to how it looked here, how it felt here, the nature, wildlife, the greenery, the environments, everything. We kind of took it all for granted.
I think because it's all relatively similar, that there are a few different landscapes, but like most of the stuff that you see day to day is like the same. So we just got like tired of the same and just started not appreciating the UK.
Exactly. And so I think since we've been to Australia, I mean, Australia is undeniably beautiful.
Yeah.
However, it's allowed us to appreciate, because it's such a contrast, England to Australia, we've come back and we've been hit with this like contrast as to how the UK looks so much different from Australia, and it's made us look at it with new eyes. I mean, we got back and we just couldn't believe how green everything was straight away.
We were
like, wow,
the greenery is quite cool.
Look at that tree, it's so green,
like a vivid green.
And like, we look at things that, I don't know, like a call box, like the red, what are they called?
A telephone box.
A telephone box, the classic red telephone box, which we would just completely ignore before leaving.
Wouldn't even notice.
We'd come back and we're like, wow,
that's really cute.
That's really cool. So we've become tourists back in the UK. And I think if you have the chance to do anything like this, you should, because it allows you to shine a new light on your home, something we probably wouldn't have done if we just stayed in the UK.
And now for point 10, we are going to have to wait a few hours for this one because it's currently midday, right?
It's midday.
And the last point requires it to be around 3 or 4 p.m. So we're going to have to wait for a few hours and see you in a bit.
But don't worry, it'll be a few seconds for you guys.
Yeah.
So point number 10 is something that, we forgot happens in the UK, and that is daylight saving hours. And we know Australia has this too, but I think the UK has it to an extent that's like a bit more extreme. I think the earliest it gets dark in Australia is maybe 4 to 5 p.m, but the time is currently 3:30 and it's getting dark.
And that is why we had to wait a couple of hours so you could see just how quickly it gets dark.
And, just as we've been recording this, it's gotten pretty dark out there.
Yeah.
To be honest. Time's 3:30. People are still in the beach in Australia, sunbathing at this time.
And it's nearly dark.
And here it's dark. Can you believe that?
Crazy.
Unbelievable. So you may think it's not that much of a big deal, and it isn't really. It doesn't really affect much, but it could mean that sometimes, because it gets light later as well, it could mean that sometimes you go to work and it's dark and you come home from work And it's dark.
And there is plenty of times where I have had to do that, go to work in the dark, come home in the dark. And let me tell you, it can get pretty depressing pretty quickly.
Yeah, do not recommend.
Would not recommend to a friend. 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
So the time is pretty much 4 p.m. and I think you can see just how dark it is outside. So proof right
Proof
there.
in the pudding.
You know, we weren't lying about daylight savings.
No.
This is what happens. So yeah, we are on our way to a Sunday roast now. How much more English could it get than that?
You know what? That is something that I need to fill up on before we leave again.
We need a lot of roast, don't we? Yes, but anyway, that was our 10 kind of culture shocks, surprises / things we forgot about when returning home to the UK after living in Australia for a couple of years. So if you like that video, like the video.
And subscribe to the damn channel.
We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.